The following program does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good afternoon and welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts Fred and Janet Cox right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email. Our email address is liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of the Liquid Green Health Show, Fred and Janet Cox.
And good afternoon, everyone. Yes, this is another Sunday afternoon, and we want to welcome everyone to the Liquid Green Health Show. A warm greeting to all our listeners and viewers joining us from across Canada, the United States, and around the globe. We are the Coxes, and you're going to put me up on this one again, right? And your invitation into your space, your personal space, is genuinely appreciated. Want to say anything on that?
I'm going to let it go, but grammatically, we're not going to get into it.
We
right?
start today's show by every Sunday, as a matter of fact, every Sunday at this hour, we commit to providing information in an edutainment and engaging format. And hopefully it will guide you towards a healthier lifestyle. So once again, we want to thank you for being an integral part of this enriching journey with us. Please, ladies and gentlemen, folks, wherever you are, please feel free to keep those emails flowing to liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com.
We love the emails.
We love those emails. Let us know where you're listening, you're tuning in from, and, keep it rolling. All right? Want to say anything?
Yes, this week, for Canadians, we finally laid to rest the past
former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. Right.
And I think he had a very good send-off. I think his family was pleased. And it seems people always like you more in death than in life. Because even his opponents, political opponents, were saying they learned so much more about him. And, it's good. I love funerals, actually. I love when people I love the eulogies, because I like to hear from families and friends. And usually when it's true, it's easy. As with some funerals, you have to wonder, who are they really talking about, right? Is that the same person that they knew? So I think he left a good legacy. Yes.
Okay. Now, 5 days ago, as of Tuesday.
Oh, one other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say it later. Go ahead.
5 days ago, as of Tuesday, at 11:06 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, a great event occurred in the universe.
Yes.
And that is spring, right? Tuesday marked the arrival of the vernal equinox, otherwise known as the first point of Aries. And spring, as you know, brings in a brand new energy. Right? It's the renewal of life. The air is fresher, the light, you get more natural light. And, everybody, every living thing feels a little more invigorating, and the energy is there. The body and mind is more alert. And so we're ready to go. That energy is phenomenal.
Yes. And therefore, if you know that this happens, if you know that this happens, why are you doubting me in the mornings?
Yeah.
When I say I hear the birds?
Because there's no bird there. There's no bird.
Folks, to our listeners, excuse me, let me talk. To our listeners, when we open the door, the window to our bedroom, it backs onto the woods. And for the last several weeks, the weather has been spring-like for months. We never really got a true Canadian winter. And I have
Yeah.
heard the birds.
No.
And he's doubting
There's
that
no
I hear
bird. There's no
birds.
bird out there. You even
And-
took your camera
And
to record it this morning.
it was too weak,
No,
but we're,
there
you
was
know,
no bird.
we get into this all the time, but I am hoping someone in Toronto will call, and not call because you can't call, but will send us an email. Have you heard the birds already this spring?
They
Or
might have
since-
where they are, but where we are, there's no bird. No
Anyway,
bird.
we are
Anyway,
in precious time, so let's
because of
not
this new
waste it.
energy, we will be discussing spiritual health and the critical role it plays in our overall well-being. Because we believe that our spiritual health is the foundation upon which many aspects of our health and wellness are built. It encompasses a sense of purpose, peace, and connection to something much greater than ourselves, whether through religious beliefs, meditation, mindfulness, or personal values and ethics. This dimension of health influences our mental resilience, emotional balance, and social interactions, offering a buffer against stress and fostering a positive outlook on life. Our guest this afternoon is
Yes, we have a very special guest.
very, very special guest.
And I would like to, before we introduce our guest, we have just been privy in knowing this person. We have not actually met as yet, except for today, but he came very highly recommended. We have a dear friend, Jacqueline. She's a longtime friend and frequent listener. She listens all the time. And our guest is actually going to be here in Toronto later this week, and we're going to give you details on that. And so, like our audience, we're going to be very intrigued. The recommendation was so profound that we are so happy that despite his travels and his many presentations, he's coming to us today from Orlando, Florida. And we're hoping that everyone will take this message and that we are going to be able to use it for the betterment, not just of ourselves, but in our relations towards each other, the betterment of humanity, which is all about love, right?
And that is so true. So our guest this afternoon is Ur Aua, and that's the short pronunciation of his name. I'm going to ask him when he gets on to give us the full name and an explanation as to what it means. But he is dedicated and he's a respected leader and spiritual advisor. He's also a teacher of Kamitic Spirituality, Kundalini Yoga, meditation, holistic health, and divination. Ur Aua, before we get into the learning experience of how spirituality and meditation is critical to optimum health, I am going to ask you,
what is spirituality?
Yes.
Because I know when you go to the University of YouTube or the books, the philosophers, if you ask 10 people, you're going to get so many the answers vary so much.
Yeah.
So in your opinion,
even before he gets into that, I will give him the opportunity to explain, introduce yourself, and please tell us the full pronunciation of your name. And if you can, just give us a little
more details,
synopsis as to what it really means. Welcome to the show. You're muted. You're muted. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, peace and blessings. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. And you gave me a very, very big expectation to rise up to that introduction. Yes. So my name is Ur Aua, M. Tehuti Kamo. It's a Kamitic name, and it means one who submits and is a follower of truth.
Okay. Great.
So Ur Aua for short is fine. And I am in my 42nd year of practicing Kamitic spirituality. When I was a young man and just coming out of educational experience in college and university and looking forward to graduating and going into the adult world, you know, I had a very strong sense that there was something greater in life than just working, than just pursuing career and family. I had a calling to know, what life was really all about. And that led me on my journey that wound up in Kamitic Spirituality as a priest, as a meditation practitioner and teacher and coach and advisor. So spirituality, I think we have to look at that from two perspectives as far as what it means. And the second perspective will lead us to what I understand is our discussion today that has to do with our holistic health, really achieving a holistic state of health. But the definition or the description, more accurately, as I would understand it, is that spirituality is a process that leads us to the development of our full potential.
Correct.
Right? That brings us out of the human, animalistic state where we are unevolved and enslaved to our emotions and our passions and our desires, our so-called lower self, and leads us to our highest self, which is to unite with the Creator, and through the Creator to be able to unite with others, with everyone.
Right. And
Right.
is this something that is available to everyone? Or do you need a particular experience or teaching or philosophy? Or is this something you acquire by osmosis as you go through life?
Well, I would say that many people make a distinction between spirituality and religion, right? Because of the horrific damage that institutionalized religions or people functioning in the name of religion has done to humanity.
Correct.
Which we see on full display around us every day, and particularly in the last year, if you know what I'm speaking of. People find it enabling for them to destroy others in the name of religion or in the name of spirituality. But I would say that spirituality is universal, as God must be universal. I don't buy into the idea that God has favorites, or that God is exclusively the property of one group of people, can only be referred to by one name or one pathway. As we look at life, it doesn't work that way, right? Nobody has a monopoly on science. Nobody has a monopoly on healing. Nobody has a monopoly on intelligence and brilliance and goodness. So why should one group of people have a monopoly on spirituality, right?
Correct. Yes. And it's interesting. It's interesting because when I know, after having gone through, a lot of the research we've been doing, what we realize is that, as you have already said, it's to find that higher consciousness.
Yes.
And this is the beauty about all spiritual, I'm going to use the word religions, because no matter where you go, every religion, that is the foundation. That is the truth. You talk about truth, and the truth is out there for everyone to access equally.
Yes.
And so it really doesn't matter, right? So because so many of us are tied up into the mundane, the earthly, right? The physical. And I know we're going to just delve right into it, because what we find is that 1 hour goes so fast.
Yes.
And we have so much to talk about.
Yes.
So in terms of trying to get into that sphere, what we talk about meditation. And for a lot of our listeners, there's going to be people who have never actually done meditation and would prefer to pray instead. So I wonder if you could explain to us, what is meditation? Why do we need it? How does it help? And what is the difference, if any, between that and just praying?
Now, very good question. But before you can answer the question, let me just make some clarification. Our show is a health show.
Yes.
And we talk about all aspects of health.
Yeah.
The reason why we've chosen this particular topic today is because of the change of the energy. We're
Yes.
into spring. It's a new energy. It's a new lease on life.
Right.
Right. And so we want to show the correlation between that energy has
Yeah.
come in, how that could be used to
Yeah.
improve the quality of life from a holistic standpoint.
Correct.
And that's basically what it is. So go ahead.
So my
Yeah.
question
question.
still stands.
Yes.
Yes,
If
yes.
you
No, I just wanted to
yeah.
make
Yeah.
it clear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the first question about spirituality, because the second understanding or definition of spirituality relates to spirit. And spirit is the root of the word respiration and inspiration and expiration. So there's something about breathing that relates to spirituality.
Right.
So when you ask about meditation, the scientific definition of meditation is the process of attaining the middle, the medi, the center.
Okay.
Okay.
And it specifically refers to the central brainwave state that we have, which is the alpha, the dominance of the alpha brainwaves, right? We have these different brainwave states that correspond to the electromagnetic generation of cycles of our brain.
Mhm.
Right.
Our normal everyday waking brainwave state is called delta. It's dominated by delta waves,
Yeah.
right? And below that is a state, well, if we go down to the level of sleep, right? We're talking about theta waves.
Mhm.
The state in between are alpha waves.
Mhm.
So in between being awake and being asleep
Mhm.
is a middle state. And this middle state is the key state to inspiration. This middle state is the key to communicating with our higher intelligence, our higher consciousness. This middle state is the key state through which we can alter our behavioral patterns, through which we can overcome our addictions and our conditionings and so forth. So when you understand that spirituality has to do with living according to higher law, divine law, and healing yourself holistically, you realize that one of the major challenges to our healing is our negative behavior patterns, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And
It's
meditation is a gateway through which we can alter those patterns.
that is amazing because I realize now that I love this example that they have given. I've heard it over and over again that if you're a fish and you're living in a bowl, you're on that level, and you have no idea that there's so many other levels of consciousness above you. And for most of us as humans, we're in that alpha state, that first level of consciousness. And I didn't realize that it goes up to like 10 different levels of consciousness. From the alpha to the what is it, omega, they have epsilon, theta, gamma, delta, and all the others in between. So what you're saying is that through meditation and through these brain waves, and I know the third eye and all this comes into it, it actually takes us into a state of deep relaxation. It takes us into dreaming, vivid dreams. And that is where, in that state of mind, that's where we can begin to heal ourselves. Is
Right.
that what you're talking about? Like, so for people who have cancer, think of Kate right now, like
Kate Middleton.
Kate Middleton
Yeah.
just been announced that she has cancer. I'm wondering now if there's going to be more work, to try and find the cure that
Right.
probably already exists. But if people can really understand that they can heal themselves,
Because all
from this,
answers
right?
are
Or
within
within.
us, right?
Could
And
be.
that's why you go within
Yeah,
to get the answers, and you have to go to that level
right.
where you're able to deny the
The
constant
external,
noise,
yeah.
right? That's what it is.
Yes, it's true. And it also has to do with the primary cause of all illness, which is stress
Yes.
Right.
and the stress response. So one of the things that I've learned, that we all work on in the Kamitic meditation, but it's pretty much universal to people that have a good understanding of meditation, is that stress is an option. It's not intrinsic to a situation. So we have the ability to deconstruct the stress response from the stress triggers in our lives. We can remove the stress response from the stress triggers in our lives through the process of meditation. And I can give you an example of what I'm speaking about, right? Because some people might sit back and say, wait a minute, what do you mean situations aren't inherently stressful? If you are a firefighter, for example, and there's a building that's on fire and in potential of exploding, and clearly a risk to your life, you would say that's a stressful situation for you to run into that building to save someone's life. Would you agree with that?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Unless you're a firefighter and you know what you're doing.
Well, even beyond knowing what you're doing, you could still know what you're doing, but have a fear for your own life
Of course.
that would paralyze you from performing your job.
Mhm.
Now, if your child was in that burning building and the firefighters were standing outside saying, quaking in their boots, saying, this is too much, I'm just too afraid, I can't go in there and do what I'm supposed to do, you would say, well, how are you a firefighter?
Mhm.
Because you expect that there's a process of training and conditioning that would allow a person to enter a situation of danger and not be stressed out.
Mhm.
So
It's the same thing with law enforcement, right? You expect a professional in law enforcement to be able to distinguish between a person who is threatening them, who is a criminal in the midst of a criminal act, and someone who's an innocent bystander, even though their life may be in danger.
Right.
So in other words, it's the lack of training as to
Mhm.
how to go into that area where you can, control the triggers that will cause the stress to occur because of that lack of training, and the miseducation that we have been given over the years is why we are experiencing the difficulties and the
Exactly.
denial.
So what you're saying is, in order to overcome the stresses of our lives, we need
Yes.
to learn the strategies.
Yeah.
We need to
Yeah.
learn how to get into
Yeah.
meditation. What do we do to mitigate the stress? Correct?
Exactly, because the stress response is a survival mechanism, right? It floods our body with cortisol.
Right.
It activates our adrenal response so that we can fight, or we can flee,
Yeah.
or we can freeze and hide, whatever we need to do to survive. But the problem is, unlike in the animal kingdom, where an animal will go through that response and then automatically relax,
Mhm.
right? We, being human beings, maintain the memory of the incident so that we could give a stress response every day to something that happened 20 years ago.
Yes.
Right? We could have been
Yes.
involved in some trauma, some traumatic, endangering situation, and just the thought, just the memory, just the news of someone else that experienced the same thing is powerful enough to bring us right back. And on a physiological level, our body and our mind responds as if that
Just
danger
happened.
was present right now.
Yeah.
And that,
Child
and
abuse
right,
cases,
right,
those
and
kind
that
of
is
things.
because of the memory, that encyclopedia, that library that we have, that internal
Yes.
library, the Akashic, I think it's called the Akashic records, right?
Mm.
That
You're
memory,
going way back now.
yeah, that memory, that memory bank that we have,
Yes.
everything is stored, the past, present, and it can also tell you the future.
Mm.
How do we turn on the light to get to that stage, to get that awakening?
So this comes back to the definition of spirituality, the control mechanism and the switch. And for those of your listeners that want to participate right now, you can take the palm of your hand and place it over your belly button with your pinky pointing down. And where the end of your pinky is, that's where the button is. That's where the switch is.
Oh.
In the Chinese esoteric Taoist tradition, they call it the Tan Tien, right? In Japanese, they call it the Hara, right? That's the center of your being. And in that spot if you take your awareness towards the center line of your body, there is an area of your body that you have control, that when you sync your breathing from your upper chest down, right? You don't breathe up here. Nope. You keep this part still, and as you breathe in, you sync your breath so that there is a gentle tension in that area, and you press it out and down very gently as you're at the end of your inhalation. And then when you breathe out, instead of just letting the breath go, you maintain a slight tension in that area, right? That will bring your metabolic rate down and eventually stimulate the generation of the alpha waves, because that's the seat of your vagus nerve, which is the largest of the cranial nerves in your body. So by putting a gentle pressure on your vagus nerve in the right way, then you will stimulate the parasympathetic. You will stimulate the relaxation response instead of the tension. When you think about people that are stressed out, they're not breathing from there. The breath goes here.
Yes.
Everything
The
is
breath is up
above.
here in the chest.
Yeah.
Right? So you literally have to sink your breath down. And this is a process of, you have to practice, right? You have to cultivate, you have to develop this. If any of your listeners have been in the martial arts, for example, you're taught to breathe from down there. And in certain martial arts, you even make a sound as you strike, right?
Or in yoga.
Right? They
Yeah.
call it a kia, but you cannot make that sound without tensing the vagus nerve.
Okay.
And that's the key to the release of supernatural power.
Okay. Now, I always thought it was the third eye or the pineal gland that what you just explained. Could you tell us how do you talk about that? Does that work into the explanation
Absolutely.
in terms of
Absolutely.
the meditation? Because
So
we've been finding out so much about how important it is in terms of the brain waves and
Right. So what you're referring to as the third eye in the Hindu tradition is called the Ajna chakra, right? Or the Harit chakra. And it's a center of energy, which becomes the seat of consciousness, of higher consciousness, right? So that's why they call it the third eye. It's the seat of your holistic vision. And what happens is that once you cultivate your breath properly and your energy flows properly, right? Your chi, or what we call in Kamitic, your Ra. Ra is not a god to be worshipped. Ra is a metaphor for the life force and the spirit, the Holy Spirit. Once you have cultivated that energy, then your energy will naturally rise to that part of your body and you will feel it. You notice in ancient Egypt, right? The symbol of the cobra, the Uranus on your body, right? That's exactly what it feels like. It's because the snake is a symbol of energy, right? Because energy is cyclical. It's like a snake, like a serpentine, like a sine wave, right?
Yes.
You will actually feel movement. You'll feel energy. You'll feel warmth in that part of your body as you go into a very peaceful state that will give you great clarity and understanding. So that's why they call it an eye. This will awaken your inner vision and your outer clarity.
Okay.
How long does it take someone to get to that level where they can use that energy to counteract any negative activity that's happening in the body?
Like if you're fighting cancer or heart disease or wanting to stay young, any of those things, depression.
I would say it takes only as long as it takes for you to master the process of your breath, of spiritual breathing, because the effect is almost immediate, right? In fact, if we have time and you'd like to, we'll do a little actual exercise experiment, and some of your listeners will feel it right away.
Wonderful.
In the same manner that you feel the tension or the stress response, right? When you start to feel those butterflies in your chest, you start to feel anxiety, your palms start sweating, you might feel tremors, You feel heat building up in your body. Your thoughts start running at rapid pace, right? All of those responses are from the stress
Right.
trigger and the feeling of the release of the stress hormones. Well, when you breathe properly, you will feel the release of the dopamine and the serotonin and all of those hormones, because your brain is a beautiful chemical factory.
Great. And that's
So,
that this the serotonin, the melatonin, this sleep.
yeah.
This is where we get that calm, like the dreams and the calm that you experience during sleep is what we should be experiencing. What somebody has said, it's similar to the chemical that's released is similar to that's being released when animals go into hibernation. So they no longer care about the external environment, the outside environment, right? That there is no need for food, there's no need for anything else as the body goes into stasis. So it is amazing. But how do you convince people? How do you convince folks who don't know to just look at something else? What's the difference? Like, so many people know, so many cultures study this, and yet there are people who are unawakened that they have no idea that there is something else that
some don't even
is,
want to hear you
yeah.
bring up this conversation. So you're afraid to bring up the conversation in public
Mm.
because people think you're crazy,
Yeah.
right? And that is all because what I consider to be the miseducation of the masses.
Yeah.
And you point out the key word, and it's education. We just don't know. Now, if you look at all areas of higher performance, there's already a vast knowledge, a scientific basis of meditation.
Yeah.
NBA players are using it. Baseball players are using it to increase their accuracy. You know, people in the acting arts and performance, they use meditation techniques to get into that zone to which they can perform. So it's just a matter of education, and it's also a matter of separating meditation from religion, right? You can meditate to be a better criminal.
Yeah.
You can meditate.
Same energy you're using.
It's the same intelligence that you're awakening. So meditation is simply the process of putting yourself in a certain brainwave state. Now, what you do it'll make you better at whatever you're doing. So if you're a devout spiritual practitioner, it will make you better in your prayers and your communications with the Most High. If you're an athlete, if you have a business, if you're a husband, a wife, a father, whatever, a mother, whatever role that you have to play in life, this is the doorway to higher consciousness and tapping into that higher intelligence.
Now, ancient African scientists or mystery workers, they understood the importance of the unity of spirit and matter, or body and soul. And they were able to create a spiritually scientific system that I consider to be the template for all religious teachings and holistic technology today. Is that why the holistic method of treating a patient is in many cases better than what our medical profession is offering?
Yeah, well, it's definitely complementary, because even the best medication, the best herbal prescription that you can give somebody is going to be undermined if they don't get this stress response under control.
Okay.
Because this stress response is the soil of all degenerative disease, right? So we have to address things at the root cause.
Right.
So any medical intervention, whether it's holistic, whether it's herbal, whether it's modern pharmaceutical, whatever, surgical, whatever it is that you need, your healing and your ability to maintain a state of wellness depends on this stress response.
Okay.
So there is something called DMT. Are you familiar with the acronym?
No.
It's the hormone, apparently, that it's released from the pineal gland during birth and when
Mhm.
we die. And it has to do with light. So when we die, and people say, at the end of life, your light flashes
Mhm.
before you and you see,
Mhm.
apparently that is all a part of trying to live within trying to experience a different quality, a different consciousness
Mhm.
while we're here on earth. So if you're rich and you have the best house, you have the best car, you have the trophy wife, everything is wonderful. But how did you get that wealth?
Mhm.
Were you hiring people in the
Sweatshops.
developing world, in the
Yep.
sweatshops? What damage did you cause to the environment? Do you understand?
Right.
So how do you rationalize between what's you want this on the one hand, but you have to be careful how you get it. Is there
Right.
a consequence in the spiritual, in that sense that,
Well, in the Kamitic, which for those who might not be familiar, we refer to ancient Egypt, and our studies go back to ancient Egypt because historically speaking, ancient Egypt is the great grandmother
Mhm.
of civilization, and
Right.
also the birthplace of these concepts of spirituality that we can document. And the fundamental tenet is Ma'at. And
Mhm.
Ma'at is the concept of truth and balance, understanding that we are spiritual beings having a material experience. And
Yes.
yes, we should look to succeed. We should look to be successful, to prosper materially, but as a consequence of our observance of spiritual law. Otherwise, that material prosperity will not be holistic. And this is why we find many people who are wealthy, who have material success, committing suicide, prone to depression, mental
Yes.
problems,
They,
because the challenges of earth is not going to stop. You have for yourself, but then you have your children, you have your relatives, you have people that need assistance. There's people in the world that are always in want. So it's a state of balance. It's a state of harmony between the material and the spiritual.
yes.
Okay, let me take some time to, we're going to get some email, but before I get there, you can come back with your question.
Yeah. Before you do the emails, could you, just in case somebody has to leave or if they just joined us, how do we get in touch with our
No, I'm going to do that.
your
Yeah,
okay?
I'm going to do that.
We need to do it a
Yeah,
couple of times,
I'm
right?
going to do that. So let me
Okay.
just get to some email. But for those of us, for our listeners that are now joining, if you joined late or if this is the first time, we're speaking to our guest this afternoon is Ur Aua, and he is a dedicated and respected leader and spiritual advisor, also a teacher of Kamitic Spirituality, Kundalini Yoga, meditation, holistic health, and divination.
Yeah.
And so our conversation today is about meditation and how you can use that to basically heal yourself, how you can use that to change the direction of your life and to really tap into that strong spiritual energy or spirit that you want to tap into.
Okay.
All right. So
do we have some
let me get to some email. I think we have a few that came in. Here's one from Cameron. This one came in before the show, and this is Cameron is saying, overall, spiritual health is the most important thing for all other health issues. If your God is not there to help you, you have nothing, right? And
how do you respond to that, or
I would agree with that 100%.
correct?
all right.
Yeah.
And here's one from Yola. Yola says, another great topic today to be discussed by the Coxes. They are geniuses. And that came in prior to the show.
I'll take that.
Okay. And Steve says,
Hi, Fred and Janet. Only me again. That is so nice that you mentioned Mulroney. Very nice. Yes, we're proud Canadians, and we have to give respect where due.
Where it's due.
Correct?
And Ari says, hello to Fred and Janet. Wow, this is a very deep topic today. Thanks for sharing.
And you know what? It is very deep because what we talk about today, we're just scratching the surface. And I'm so glad that you're going to be here in Toronto. You're going to be in Toronto on Friday and Saturday. And Frederick, could you tell us where?
Yeah, let me just read this last email and then I'll go to that. This one is from Tate, and Tate says, thanks, and this is in bold letters. Thanks for explaining this concept of meditation. It's so confusing when you read things online about this.
And that is so true because there are so many different types of meditation. And some people, when they talk about spirituality, they're not talking anything about metaphysics. No. They're talking about ghosts and specters and seances and this kind of thing.
Sometimes
so it is confusing.
Yeah, sometimes they're mixing up religion and spirituality.
Right.
And they're not, separating the two. It's two totally different concepts.
So apparently, is it fair to say, okay, let me do that and then I'll go back to my question.
Okay. This Friday, March the 20th, if you would like to see and hear more from Ur Aua, this Friday, March the 20th, March the 29th, sorry, which is Saturday, and March the 30th, where is it?
On the 29th, we're going to be hearing, and I have tickets for this already. The tickets are really great. They're only, what, $35? And at 62 Orchard Park Drive in Scarborough. Now, if you are living in the area and you want information, please just send us an email and we'll send it out. And also, if you live in Brampton, in the Brampton area, he will be there teaching at 25 Selby Road.
That's in Brampton.
And that's on the 30th.
Right.
So please call for more information. And where do you call though? Where are we calling?
And these, I'll give the number. These workshops, folks, they include Friday at 10:30 p.m. If you want a spiritual reading, you can get that on Friday. And then at 3 p.m., if you want to accelerate your growth and achievements using astrological cycles, which is a whole different topic we can't touch today. You can have that.
Touch it briefly.
You can have that. And at 10:30 a.m., there's also Saturday, 10:30 a.m., you can get a spiritual reading there as well.
Yes.
2 p.m., introduction to Kamitic meditation. So if you want to really hear what's going on, see this wonderful guest that we have and hear, what he has to say, learn, this is a perfect time that you can check it. Here's a number. It has a number you can call. It's 617-222-0718. That's 617-222-0718, and I'll give it out again just before the show ends. Yeah, you wanted to say
so now that you've read from the information, I'm going to change my question, and I'm going to ask you, could you share with us what is a spiritual reading? For folks who have no idea, what is it, and
why is it important?
What's
the importance of having it?
Why should somebody come to you and talk to you about that?
So a spiritual reading is a process through which we assist someone in receiving insight from the wisdom faculty of God, which dwells within our spirit. Now, this wisdom faculty is what gives birth to all great wise men and wise women, but it is the product of an advanced stage of our spiritual development. And in the meantime, while we are developing, we have great wise men and women who have developed oracle systems, which is a way for you to communicate with this subconscious intelligence within you to receive spiritual messages.
So is it like a really high level of meditation? Is that what it is?
No, it's actually done with a device. So either coins or cards or cowrie shells. And you'll find this in many traditions. So for example, we use the I Ching or I Ching oracle from ancient Taoist China, which is several thousand years old, right? And proven in its efficacy to help people to make proper decisions and arrive at the right conclusions about troubling matters in your life.
Okay.
We also use the Medu Neter oracle, which was intuited by our chief priest, whose name is Ra Un Nefer Amen. He's the author of the Medu Neter 7-volume series on ancient Kamitic spirituality and some 35 other books and meditation musical compositions.
Now, some people talk about an astrological chart. I
Yes,
remember when our grandson was born, we have a good friend who's an astrologer,
yes,
and he used to teach astrology. And for many cultures, they're into astrology, they understand it, they depend on it, they use it to their benefit. For
yes.
some other cultures, they fear it, they don't understand it, and anything that you don't understand can become fearful.
Yes.
What's the difference? Like how interesting, or why would somebody then get an astrological reading as opposed to, or as well as, a spiritual reading?
Well, astrology is a proven science of understanding how the geomagnetic cycles of the earth, right, affect our consciousness. So over thousands of years, in fact, one of the early astrological diagrams is in the Temple of Dendera in ancient Egypt, right, which is in Africa. And this astrological chart, which shows you all of the zodiacal signs, right? Scorpio, Leo, Aries, Aquarius, and so forth, chiseled into the ceiling of the temple, is over 4,000 years old. And the ancient Egyptians were, as many other wise ancient cultures, they profited in the administration of their lives and their society through the knowledge of cycles. Everything in life follows cycles. As the Bible says, there's a season for all things.
Yes.
Right? And this is one of the problems of Westernized people. We expect that life is just one straight up line,
Linear.
Life moves in a cyclical fashion.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So the
right.
proper understanding of astrology is to help you to identify what cycle you're in. And we each are in different cycles depending on our birth condition, so that we can live in harmony with the energy of that cycle and we can ride the wave, right? Knowing what is the right season. So that's what astrology is about.
Okay.
It's like,
And sorry, go
it's
ahead.
like wearing a seatbelt in a car. If you don't wear it and those things come up, you can be, serious injury.
So coming back to basic spirituality, I think if I had to talk about just one question, you're supposed to ask yourself, why am I here? What is my purpose? We can't get into spirituality unless you talk about purpose. And so that's why we do all the things we do, because we're trying to figure it out.
Yes.
As we grow, as we age, and hopefully before you die, and if not by the time you die, you get another chance to go around again through some of those things that we don't understand, or but the whole I tell you, I have been personally through so many different religions. Searching, looking. We were Mormons. We checked out the Mormons. We checked out Buddhism. Loved the Buddhist chants. Namyo Horenge Kyo. I could do that for 3 hours.
Yes.
We were born again Christians. We were devout Anglicans. All of this, and now we're spiritualists. That is what I would say. And I believe the end result for all of them, it's like, what's your highest and best self? And everybody talks about love. Could you go into that a bit? And how does love factor into everything?
Well, the Kamitic understanding is that God created the world so that God could enter into the world and enjoy its creation. And God created the human being, right, as the only creation that God could enter into and function as a divine being. Why? Because human beings are given freedom of choice.
Yeah.
Animals don't have free choice or free will. They have to obey their instinctive programming. And that's why, by the way, animals will not destroy the environment.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They follow their internal program. But human beings, and this answers one of the most troubling questions that I had about spirituality, was if there is a God
Mhm.
and God is aware of what is happening in this world, how does God allow such evil
Mhm.
to transpire in the world?
Yeah.
And a
And the
lot of
answer
that's
is that the definition of God is to be free to choose. So if we're made in a divine likeness, we have been given that freedom to choose so that we can choose to override our emotional instincts.
Mhm.
So when the environment says, no, you shouldn't cut these trees down, you shouldn't cultivate this area of land because you're going to throw the ecological balance out of order, even though it will be profitable, we can rise above that desire. We can rise above that greed, right? We can rise above the anger when someone transpires against us, transgresses against us, right? But you can't have the freedom to rise to ignore your emotional conditioning and not also have the freedom to ignore the truth, to ignore
but
law.
there are consequences when
Absolutely.
there are severe
Absolutely.
consequences when you make the wrong choices.
Just like if you jump off a building, the law
The
of
law of
gravity,
gravity will pull you down.
yeah, right, will not spare you no matter what you believe. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So
No,
God makes the world based on law.
yeah.
Mhm.
I have an email that,
To choose.
yeah, sorry. I have an email that came in, and it's from there. And there says,
Daredevil.
yeah, there says, hi, Janet and Fred. I just tried what your guest suggested, but I could not do it since I am fat.
I am so fat.
Right.
Love
Love the
your
show.
show. So
Right.
she tried to do it. Could you explain that to us again? Because I don't know if I actually got it. And
I did.
your time is going pretty quickly. And I know you wanted to try a simple meditation with us. So if we could read just a couple more emails and then you
Yeah.
tell us this and do, the little
Yeah. Take a minute. Yeah.
to do what you had suggested at the beginning, and then we're going to be out of time. I can't believe it.
Here's before that, here's another one from Andrew. And Andrew says, how do we actually meditate? The procedure. So the topic is interesting. People are asking, they want to know. They want to know how to meditate.
So how do we get in touch with you if we want to learn? What's the best way? We have given out things about coming up on Friday. But if somebody, in the States, anywhere, we want to connect with you, do you have a website? Like, what's the best way? If people
Yes.
want to learn how to meditate.
The best way is Toronto,
Mhm.
AAS.com. So that's
Toronto.
A like Apple, A like Apple, S like Sam. Toronto, AAS.com.
Okay.
That's our website where you can sign up for this weekend, or you can communicate, get on the email list, and we can follow up with you.
Okay. So if someone was in the States and they can't be at this function, they can also go to that website and connect with you after?
Yes,
Okay.
and they'll refer them to what's going on in their area.
Okay.
Now, before you get into that
Mhm.
1 minute exercise here, we got another email. I'm telling you, people are very interested in this topic.
From Katie.
This is from Kid Dreams, Katie Dreams, sorry. This is such a complicated topic. Maybe do another show on it. That would be enjoyable. Thank you.
Well,
Right.
I would, if you're available, we can talk
We'd love
about
to
this.
bring you back.
We know how busy you are. We know your schedule. I know trying to even get you on this week was you travel widely. So we'll talk
But
about that.
we can make that happen. We can
Yeah.
surely make that happen.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So with that,
Wonderful.
would you be so kind to take us through a 1 minute exercise so that not just us, but our listening audience can have an idea, what to do?
Okay, so I might need 2 minutes.
You can have 3 minutes, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if everybody would just sit up straight, if you're sitting in a chair, you want to come up to the edge of your chair, sit up straight, and just rest your hands, your palms down on your knees or close to your knees. And then I want you to just raise your shoulders, tighten them, and then just let them go and just relax. Release all the tension from your upper body. Close your eyes and place the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth with your teeth closed. And now just focus on your breathing. You're going to breathe in and out through your nose. And just gently slow your breathing down. And I want you to get the sensation in your body of a sinking feeling, like you're sinking into your chair. Everything, all tension is releasing and relaxing. And as you breathe in, gently press your stomach out and slightly down towards the floor. And as you breathe out, your stomach is collapsing naturally. And as you breathe in, sink your breath down and out. And as you breathe out, your stomach is naturally releasing. Now breathe in, sink the breath out and down. Your stomach is moving. And as you breathe out, your stomach naturally collapses. Your shoulders, your chest is totally relaxed. You're not chest breathing, you're belly breathing. So now I want you on your next in-breath to take in a little bit more air and gently but forcibly push the stomach out and down towards the floor. And then as you breathe out, resist the out-breath just very slightly by maintaining the gentle tension in your lower abdomen. Now keep breathing like this and focus only on the breath. The rest of your body is totally relaxed, more and more. The only tension anywhere is in that center, your lower abdomen. And as you relax, you may start to feel your body's heavy. You might feel your body's very light. Some of you might even feel a little tingly sensation in the body as you relax deeper and deeper.
And I hate to break this up, but we're down to 2 minutes before we have to close. I would like to be here for at least another half an hour, but we can't.
Okay, Fred
So,
is already there though. I can see.
yes, he is. And you know, he's
You
good
see the
at it.
smile? He's
Yeah.
feeling it.
And I'm hoping
I
that
do
this
it a
was
lot. I
um,
do it a lot.
Yes.
So I know it's, for me, it's very easy to get into that state and relax and, you know, concentrate on what I want to do.
And for some people, this will be my last statement. For some people, it's like the more you try to quiet your mind, is the more thoughts come to you. It's the more your mind races.
Yeah.
So it's a technique that we would like to learn. Perhaps when you come back, we'll start a little bit earlier, that we could do a little bit more.
Yes.
All right.
This
Well,
is
there's stages to it, and we definitely have the technique to stop the monkey mind.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
You call it a monkey, I call it a wild horse. But this has been wonderful, Orwa. We really appreciate that. And as Janet said, I really honestly, you know, wish we had a lot more time. We would love to bring you back this Friday,
The phone
folks.
number again.
Yeah, this Friday, where is it?
Yeah, the phone number.
Yeah.
Just
The phone number, if you want to get in touch, is 617-222-0718. That's 617-222-0718.
And the website.
Call that number, and the website is TorontoAAS.com.
Great.
TorontoAAS.com.
So
You get all the
you.
information for what's happening on March 29th.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's
Thank
been
you
wonderful.
all for the opportunity.
Peaceful.
Many blessings to you and your audience.
Yeah.
And I'm coming. I'm going to be doing my reading.
Yes.
All right.
Me
We'll
too.
see you there.
You've been listening to the Liquid Green Health Show, folks. We want to thank you for joining us. And until next week, same time, same place. This is Janet and Fred saying, let's stay healthy on Reality Radio 101. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts, Fred and Janet Cox, right here on Reality Radio 101.